Okay, so by now you may have heard that there was an election and the guy who lost won't accept it. In fact, Trump allies have said the media doesn't get to pick the president, and the truth is, neither do you. Yes, these moments here, these are very important.
CNN projects Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president of the United States.
The media makes a projection based on votes counted, but you don't really pick the president either. Your state electors pick the president. You just make a suggestion. The election officially gets certified a few weeks later, usually by the state governor or the state's chief election official. Tuesday, December 8th is what's known as the safe harbor deadline, otherwise known as the deadline for settling any election disputes, and that also includes recounts. On Monday, December 14th, a whole bunch of people get together and write stuff down on paper, and that is the Electoral College. If you live in New Jersey, for instance, 14 electors show up that day. That's because New Jersey has 14 electoral votes. Same for Iowa's 6, Florida's 29, and California's 55. And these are the people who actually pick the president. Not you, and no, not the media. But they vote for who you voted for. So if your state votes for Joe Biden, your electors will vote for Joe Biden. They sign what are called certificates of the vote, and those get sent to the National Archives. Quote, the electors seal certificates of vote and send them to the Office of the Federal Register and Congress. In January, Congress sits in joint session to certify the election of the president and vice president. That meeting happens January 6th, 3 days after the new Congress and 2 weeks before inauguration. It's actually going to be a really awkward scene this year for Vice President Mike Pence because the president of the Senate is the one who has to read off the winners and losers of the Electoral College. And the president of the Senate is the U.S. vice president. Flashback to the last time an incumbent ticket lost in 1992. On January 6th, 93, Vice President Dan Quayle sealed his own fate.
Al Gore of the state of Tennessee has received for Vice President of the United States 370 votes. Dan Quayle of the state of Indiana has received 168 votes.
Which means on January 6th, VP Mike Pence will have to officially certify that Kamala Harris of California has defeated Mike Pence of Indiana. Inauguration is on Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. Oh, and about those media calls, I know President Trump doesn't want to accept it, but when the decision desks call it, it's usually right.
Donald J. Trump will become the 45th president of the United States, defeating Hillary Clinton in a campaign unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime.
That was good enough for Donald Trump to claim victory 4 years ago, but this time around, apparently, it is not. The newscasts have, of course, been wrong before.
A big call to make. CNN announces that we call Florida in the Al Gore column. This is a state both campaigns desperately wanted to win.
But 2000 was an anomaly. That entire election came down to one state, and George W. Bush only led by 1,784 votes after election night out of a whopping 5.8 million voters, even though the major news networks had previously called Florida for Al Gore. All of this triggered an automatic recount. There were a ton of lawsuits and appeals, and when the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in to stop the counting, Bush's lead had narrowed to a now infamous 537 votes. I should point out that 2020 is nothing like 2000. For one, the Trump team is contesting results in 6 states, not one, and his margin is about 280,000 votes down in those states, not a mere 1,784, which means it's all just a matter of time until our electors make it official.